Well, overshadowed by the budget back and forth over the past few weeks has been the passage of some very interesting and controversial bills. One of them is no-fault divorce, which passed the Senate last week and is now being considered by the Assembly. The concept is actually not new. In fact, every single state but New York has had some form of no-fault divorce passed and on the books now for some time. Supporters claim that the new law would save married couples who want to split up from needless conflict and legal expenses. But opponents think that the plan will end up hurting women financially and also perhaps cause divorce rates to skyrocket. Joining me now to debate this issue is Senator Ruth Hassel Thompson. She has sponsored the bill that passed last week for the past 2 years now. And Marcia Pappas, president of the New York chapter of the National Organization of Women, which opposes the plan. Thank you very much for your time, both of you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for asking me.
So what I would like to do is just start with a brief synopsis from both of you as to your positions. And Senator, since the bill has passed, we'll start with you.
Just briefly, there are 3 parts to the bill. And of course, the first portion of the bill is no fault. And I think the goal here has been for us is to streamline the divorce process, and in that process, reduce the contention that tends to build when a divorce is elongated. The other thing is also the amount of money that is lost on the part of couples whenever divorce is extended, and the emotional hardship, I think, which is probably even greater. As I listened to the report by most women, that it's the hardship emotionally for them and for children that make an expeditious divorce very important to them. Not also forgetting that women who are living in not just contentious situations but dangerous situations as victims of domestic violence, this is also a method for them to ensure that they are able to get a divorce without having to have the permission of their abuser.
Okay, Marcia, your position?
Well, the National Organization for Women has for many years opposed no-fault divorce. And one of the reasons that we do it, and the main reason, is that when we look at legislation, we look at the financial, the economic impact on women and children. We've seen state after state come back with reports that have no-fault divorce or some sort of no-fault divorce that say to us in their reports that they have seen the unintended consequences for women and children financially. And that is that women and children are devastated by no-fault divorce, and that's because one party can go into court, they can file for divorce, they can hide the assets. Generally, that's the more moneyed spouse, which is the man. The non-moneyed spouse is put at a disadvantage. That moneyed spouse can hide the assets, go into court, start the process before the non-moneyed spouse even knows what's going on. It's important to know that in New York State, 95% of all divorces are settled out of court. That means they don't go to trial. There's only 5% that need to go to trial, and that usually is because there's reason. To say that we need no fault, we have bilateral no-fault divorce in New York. That is 2 people come together, they sign a separation agreement, and a year later they get their divorce.
And that would be through mediation. But there also, I think the problem, and Senator, if you wouldn't mind speaking to this, the problem is frequently, I believe, that you have to give grounds, and that therefore forces people into saying things that they don't necessarily are not even true.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You know, one of the things I want to respond to very quickly is that somehow the impression is being given by I almost said the adversaries, but those who are opposed to the bill. They pretend as though this is a knee-jerk situation, and that's totally untrue and it's unfair. This bill was not something that was conceived in the dark of night. For many, many months, there has been consultation not only with matrimonial lawyers, with judges, with a variety of people who have a lot at stake here. Judge Kaye, as far back as 2006, began to address this issue and made recommendations, which really was the stimulus for us to begin to look at why no fault was needed in the state of New York. Also, we looked at other states and some of the issues that made no fault by itself problematic. And while I agree with some of the concerns that Marsha Pappas raises, what I think we've been successful, at least in the Senate, in doing is achieving goals for not only the no-fault portion, but the PMI. When first New York City's now was not supportive, they thought that we were going to pass no fault without giving good consideration to the maintenance. And one of the things about this divorce bill that we've passed is that we have achieved a level of consistency as well as predictability in what the maintenance laws are going to be for this state. And every domestic violence organization and New York City's now supports the bill, because in their participation in the language, the scrutiny of the language, the intent, all of them have said that they are satisfied that the bills that we have passed have done the best that we possibly can to address some of the issues that have been presented heretofore, and certainly that Marsha continues to present even to this date.
Now, Marsha, before we go, it is, I think that what the senator is bringing up is there is a split in between your downstate chapter and the statewide, but also there's been a number of people who have changed their positions, including the Women's Bar Association.
Well, first I need to clarify to the senator,
Please
and
do.
for those people who are watching, that I have called my chapter president in New York City, Jane Manning, and she has assured me that what is Senator Hassel-Thompson and other senators are saying about the New York City chapter is not true. They are not supporting no-fault divorce. We all support the post-marital income bill, and we all support the counsel fee bill that would award counsel fees to the lesser-moneyed spouse. But it is not true, and they are spreading misinformation, and I have that in writing from my chapter president in New York City. So I need to clarify that. We are all on board. We are all on the same page with this. The other thing that I want to bring out is that the proponents of no-fault divorce continue to say that this is going to save money. Well, in fact, we know differently. We know that this is going to drive people into courts more readily than the system that we have right now. And in fact, there's new research out there that talks about the states that have no-fault divorce. They have now done a study in states where they've actually looked at the statistics of people who have gone back to court and had to go into litigation and has cost them millions of dollars. The one thing they have in common is that they are a no-fault state. So these states are admitting now that no-fault divorce does not save people money. They end up going back into litigation, which costs people more money, and in fact, the people who suffer most are the women and children, because they are the lesser of the moneyed individuals in our society.
Now, Marsha, I'm sorry if I just may interrupt for one second. Senator, were you aware of this apparent change of position from the New York City chapter of NOW?
What Marsha is stating is not what we are being told. As late as this morning, the New York chapter is, along with the New York Bar Association, Women's Bar, have not retrenched on their opinion. Their concern about no fault was the same that Marsha contended in the beginning. She was concerned, at least that's what she purported, was that she felt that we were perpetrating a sham and that we had no intention or no ability to pass a PMI bill. Therefore, she was not in support. When we made it clear to the advocates, including the New York City chapter, that we had every intention of doing these bills in a package and that we were working equally as hard, and we wanted their support to help us to get the votes necessary to ensure that we could pass the package of bills, that's when they came on board. And it's very interesting that the very bill that they were the most concerned about was the bill that was passed first unanimously.
Now, Senator, if I may just interrupt for one second.